Ah,
And we're live. So, welcome everybody to the live studio audience podcast. Super excited to have Anthony with me today. I always want to call you Tony because my grandfather's name was Anthony. So,
yeah.
but I'll stick to Anthony because that's what we've been using to date. So, Anthony is one of my high performance coaching clients. We've been working for quite a while on various parts of his business. One of which is what you guys are going to be able to hear today. So I'm super pumped to be able to share, have Anthony share more about his Black Belt Confidence program, but also like what goes into it, what's behind it. So Anthony runs a martial arts academy in Tampa, Florida. He has, I don't know how many levels of black belts you have. I don't know. He can snap me like a twig with his eyeballs. It's basically, the level of, scary that I have. I'm amazed that I've been able to survive this long, without any kind of martial arts, I don't know, mental martial arts happening. So Anthony, why don't you give a quick rundown for our listeners on the kind of work that you do, and that will lead us into some of the questions that I have in regards to how do we use the martial arts strategies, philosophies, methodologies to create more confidence. I know primarily our conversation right now is about women, but also like for anybody. So just give a bit of background on how you got here.
Wow. Thanks for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be with all of your audience. And Miss Mountain has been my coach for quite a long time now, and she's pulled some things out of me. A lot of us deal with resistance in whatever endeavor we try to tackle, and she's helped me with my resistance. So if you haven't read the book War of Art, not Art of War, War of Art, it's
love that book.
It helped me tremendously. Going, wow, that's called resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Some people do encounter resistance when it comes especially to the topic of self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people say is, well, I don't need self-defense. I don't need that self-defense thing, and I'm never going to be attacked. The likelihood of being attacked is very low. And I would agree with you. It could be very low. However, I believe with a little bit of confidence in how you stand, how you speak, how you make eye contact, that statistic can be even lower. You can even lessen your odds of ever being in a physical altercation.
Yeah, and I think to that point, actually, when you and I were talking about sort of the confidence, that black belt level of confidence. So it's not like entry level confidence that we can kind of, even the mediocre level of confidence where most of us kind of reside, kind of in and out depending on the situation. But as I'll speak as a woman. I want to be able to have as much confidence walking through my house as I do walking into a conference, as I do walking in an underground parking garage, as I do going to a party, right? So, I'll just use a little bit of my experience as to why I love this topic so much. So again, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective. For the gentleman listening in, think about this also for the women in your life, right? And this is kind of the general experience. Most women, by and large, walk through life in some sort of sense of fear. Like, say, you're at the bars, you're done at 2:00 in the morning. Dudes, they'll just walk home. Women are like, chances of surviving the walk home, they're about a 20%, right? And so there's a lot of times where we just don't have that confidence. I've gone to conferences. Most of the conferences I go to, I have what I call a safe person, where if something goes wrong, and I don't feel safe anymore, that person knows that when I come and I grab their arm, I'm not feeling comfortable and they need to take me to my room, right? Because I need someone to be with me. I need someone to escort me back to my room. I don't want to feel that way. I don't like feeling that way. And so, to open up the whole conversation about confidence, how does picturing a physical altercation, right? So again, me picturing getting, jumped in an underground parking garage, or, unwanted touching or whatever, or pressure at a conference. So I imagine that. How does martial arts help me feel comfortable? Because I'm not just gonna like drop kick somebody, right? Because the whole idea behind what you're doing, I'm sure it's not to like create physical violence. How does it help us raise our confidence using martial arts?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So one, I love that you have a safe person. I think even if you're a 20th degree black belt, whatever that means in your perspective martial arts, I still think you need to be alert. I love that women go to the restrooms together. I wish men would also take that into account. I've got some high level cohorts that high level martial artists, they've been accosted and mugged in alleys because they were by themselves. And that happens a lot of times with professionals. And I see it a lot in the firearms community, that they are such professionals and then accidents happen. I think even if you're able to physically handle yourself, I still think it's very important to have those nonverbal cues that's specifically that you have, having a safe person, having a code that, hey, I don't feel comfortable. Let's move on. So I love that a lot. We do call this the black belt confidence course. I was thinking of a good name for it, and I like the confidence course, but there's a lot of confidence courses out there. And then saying something like martial arts has a connotation. I was talking to my marketing director, and she was saying, well, is martial arts, and she's not a martial arts herself, however, she's highly skilled in talking about the topic. She says, well, isn't martial arts and self-defense different? And I said, that's interesting, because in my mind, for example, if you do any sort of footwork with whatever athletic endeavor you do, I consider that martial arts. If you're doing boxing, that's martial arts. If you're doing any sort of physical fitness, like weight training, which is super important, that lends to the martial arts. But these are all, anything kinesiology or biomechanic is martial arts to me, whether it's firearms, wrestling, or the traditional martial arts, karate and taekwondo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Those are all martial arts. So I think self-defense is one component of the martial arts. Now, do you want to talk about how I got here?
Yeah, I know we kind of skipped over that, went right into it, but I think that how you got here will lend into more of why we're talking about confidence with martial arts. Okay,
so I'll try and be real brief, just give your audience an idea of how I got here and how I came to this. It especially came, so the Black Belt Confidence course especially came just recently. Every year I have young girls and young women getting ready to travel abroad, or they're maybe getting ready to go to college. This could be young teenagers, or it could be young women going abroad. I've had people saying, listen, I'm going overseas and I don't feel real comfortable. Can you create a program for me? And I started seeing an uptick in that a lot. Now, the world we live in now, it's even more prevalent. People are saying, I don't really feel very safe. So I started honing a program years ago to specifically tackle the techniques or the way you carry yourself in a very concise and precise manner. If you go into a martial arts program, a lot of times there will be self-defense techniques. However, it's a little bit diluted with all of the other things you learn from the choreographed scenarios, from the patterns, from the in jiu-jitsu we go upside down and we spin around and do some funky little monkey things, and it's like it's really fun and it's great for athleticism. But in a self-defense situation, very little of that is going to protect you. And then for the layperson, a lot of people don't have enough time to take an endeavor in some sort of specific martial arts and spend months or even years. And even then, they may not be able to protect themselves. So how I got here was, my father's in the military. And as a young boy, we traveled a lot. Every 3 to 4 years, if you're a military brat, or if you're in the military yourself for any extended period of time, you travel a lot. So my dad was always stationed somewhere, whether we were in Korea, in Japan, Germany, Turkey, just depending on where I lived, that's particularly the martial arts I practice. So I was always interested in the martial arts aspect, the self-defense side of it, how to protect myself. There's other aspects of the martial arts which are beautiful, which are the sport aspects of it, or they call them extreme martial arts, where they're doing the flips and the fancy kicks. Those are fun as well. But I always gravitated to, how do I protect myself and how do I protect my loved ones? That was my thing. And I quickly came to discover that with all the different martial arts, and I've got some high-level black belts and quite a few martial arts which call themselves, quote unquote, self-defense martial arts. However, when it came down to any level of stress where I had to deal with somebody in an encounter, not necessarily in a self-defense encounter, but even like a controlled environment, like a sparring match, I wasn't able to deploy the techniques that I was told would work. So it became a real big problem. There were some attributes I learned from all of the martial arts, which helped tremendously. However, they weren't concise and exact to what I needed, what I thought I needed in a self-defense situation. I still
So
love all the.
so is it that, and some martial arts, or if not, because I don't know, I took Aikido for 3 months back in university, and there's the sum total of my martial arts experience.
Yeah.
Is it that when a lot of people take martial arts like classes, so for months and years or whatever, that it's not as attuned to real world situations? And so when you hit a real world situations and someone's coming at you, I mean, you see all the memes and the jokes. It's like, okay, well, we'll slow down, come at me slowly from this direction at this speed, and then I can defend myself. Otherwise, it's not really useful. And it doesn't, like, you may be athletic because you went through the martial arts. And so you may be, agile and strong, but not necessarily able to use the training. And that's kind of where especially with the girls that you've been training, have really seen an opportunity to kind of go, okay, hang on a second, we got to change it up and make it real world applicable, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me, I don't know how old some of your audience is, but there was a Jim Carrey skit, I think it was Saturday Night Live, where he was a martial arts instructor, and he was teaching a women. You remember this one?
I do. It's hilarious.
Like, he came out and he said he gave the one of the women a knife, and they were real timid. He said, "Okay, attack me." And then she attacked him, and she goes to stab him, and he goes, "No, not like that. A real attacker wouldn't attack you like that. A real attacker would attack you like this." And anyways, it proceeded to Jim Carrey getting many, many holes in his body with blood. That's so funny. And I think comedians are some of the best communicators. I think it's so funny because it's actually a lot realer and truer than a lot of martial artists want to acknowledge. It's
and the other thing that and Catherine just in the chat there brought up a really good point, said she was attacked and froze, right? If you're not taught how to think in a real life situation, it doesn't matter what your training is. If you freeze, you freeze. And then, there you go. Right. So I remember my little sister, she was preparing to go to Africa many years ago, and not the safe parts. And so she took Krav Maga. And part of the Krav Maga practice was we had to hide and jump out at her, so that, she would be ready. My husband had an absolute field day jumping out of, like, grabbing her ankle under her bed or jumping out of closets. It was fun for a short period of time. Then I thought she was going to die of a heart attack, but it helped with her training. Now, mercifully, she didn't need to use it when she was there, but that's kind of where she needed to. And I think I'm getting the point of a lot of the sort of martial arts training people get in sort of the right. And again, nothing wrong with that training, but if you're trying to say, but how do I use it in real world situations, like girls going to, college parties, whatever, boys going to, parties and stuff like that, because there's a different social expectation for boys versus girls in different situations. It can get really dicey. So yeah. Okay.
Let me tell you this, what's I call it black belt confidence for women. It absolutely is for men and women. The reason I chose women, because I felt like the men, for some reason, martial arts really attracts men. They feel like the physicality of it. They feel like, okay, I can do this. But for some reason, women feel like that is for the men over there, but I need something for myself. This course absolutely can work for all, let's call it adults. Let's call it all adults, male or female. I just felt like if I created a safe environment, and you can go into any mixed martial arts gym or any special forces class. However, if it's that intimidating, you're not going to want to go. But if I can create a scenario where I can make women especially feel comfortable, and we can have women-like conversations. For example, there's some really pertinent information that specifically deal with women, like on the ground. If you're going to be assaulted on the ground or whatnot, that specifically deals with women and the positions they're in. So how do we deal with that? Like it is for everybody.
And that's really interesting, because women getting cornered. So I'm assuming, talk to me about, like, give some examples of how like certain situations that, like, give like 2 situations that women get into that your training is particularly helpful with. And just for my listeners, we're not only going to be talking about how the black belt confidence, program and methodologies that Anthony teaches are about physical situations. We're also going to go into sort of the communication, the verbal, nonverbal, and just simply walking into a room and having that level of confidence, or going on stage, and if that's a lot of the people I deal with, a lot of my clients are like, I want to get into speaking. and then they clam up because they just don't have that confidence. So just, stay with the program, because we are going to get into like not just the physical side of confidence, but also into the non-physical, emotional, verbal communication side. But for just now, give a couple of examples of situations where let's just, go down the woman route, where we kind of get into a sticky situation, and, you can help us get out of it, like cornered, unwanted attention at a party, like that kind of a thing. What are some of the things that you've helped girls, in particular women, really take control of?
So that's interesting. It could be a numerous amount of situations. Just walking out of the grocery store, are you aware enough to say, listen, I need to listen to my women's intuition? That gut feeling that you have, I think everybody has it. Women seem to be much more in tune to it. Men seem to go, oh, that's my wimpy self thinking about that, and they ignore it. But women are super in tune with it. And I implore everyone, pay attention to that. If you feel uneasy about a situation, whether it's walking out of a grocery store or walking out of a social setting, pay attention to it. And in your case, you've got a safe person to help you, some sort of plan, some sort of idea of what, if this happened, then I will do this. If this, then that. If you have some sort of plan, and believe it or not, if I or somebody else gives you permission to tell someone, hey, listen, I think you're a little too close, back off, you're making me uncomfortable. Social norms you may say to yourself, well, that feels super creepy and super uncomfortable. I'm coming across weird. However, I'd rather feel weird or come across weird as opposed to being in a situation I'm extremely icky about.
So give us a situation. So I walk into a room and someone makes me feel icky. Let's say I don't have a safe person. What are some of the things you teach people to do?
So what is this person doing? Are they in your face?
Let's call it in your face, a little bit too close.
So with the program, the Black Belt Confidence Program, people don't have to do our particular program. They say public speaking is the number one fear, right? So I'd like to think in anything you do, anything you want to master, you have to be able to coach or teach it. So let's say we go through a numerous amount of techniques. I'd like for you to be able to stand up for yourself and use intonation, be able to project your voice in a loud situation, have the body language, the eye contact, the hands in a specific gesture to universal sign to tell someone to back away. If somebody's close enough to you, a lot of people just don't have the confidence to tell somebody, hey, listen, that's a little too close. Back up. Or stand in a position like, excuse me, hold on, can you back up a little? Just say something in regards to give them a cue to back away. Now, if it got any sort of say in a riskier type of situation, they actually grabbed you or touched you or whatnot. For example, my wife, whenever I go to hug my wife now, she has these automatic reflexes and gestures where she does things like, it's called framing, where she's able to create space with me, and she's able to maneuver my body with little to no effort. And it's just a subconscious act on her part because she's doing these simple techniques all the time. And to me, it's to the point of, babe, I just want to give you a hug. I want to show you something. She's like,
this is wanted attention, not unwanted attention.
She goes into, check out this really cool maneuver I could do and redirect you. Like, well, yeah, that's really cool, but when do I get my hug? There are simple techniques you can do by even framing somebody so they can't get any closer. So if I give you a drill in the class, I'll do a drill called structural and skeletal strength. So muscular and skeletal strength. So muscular strength is using your muscles. Now, I like to assume, and you should assume as well, that if you do get attacked, that person's going to be bigger than you are, stronger than you are.
Usually, they
have more money, they're better looking, all of the things, right? So they just got all the things.
Right.
If you try to muscle that person, you're not going to do very well. Probably. You could be tired, you could be sleepy, all those little stressors, and that you're not going to do very well. That's why, was it your sister who did the stress inoculation drills? Somebody jump out and scare her?
Yep.
Some of those drills that was the intent with those drills, to catch you by surprise. If you try to muscle that person, I'm scared and I've got the blinders on and I can't defend myself, I'm going to be in trouble. However, if you use what I call skeletal strength, which is just the bone, say if I stuck my elbow in my shoulder joint between me and my partner, they're not going to go through that. They may be big enough to push me, but they'll push me away from them, but I'll still maintain this distance. However, I may be strong enough to fend them off, and then I could do something else. So there's a lot of techniques that way. physical techniques, you can do that. But more importantly, if I can show you some physical techniques that are super simple and you grasp them quite quickly, you're going to have the confidence going, oh, I can walk into this room and I now have the confidence to be able to tell this person, hey, listen, you're a little too close. Hey, excuse me, do you mind? Or my safe person comes and helps me, but I now have that person.
Yeah. Because what I'm interested is like in the absence of a safe person, because I don't always have it, especially if you go somewhere like brand new and you don't know anybody. And I'm always doing that. Networking situations. Like I went to a networking thing, and the opening question from the first person I went was, "Are you married?" And I instantly felt super gross. And then I tried to get out of there as fast as I could. Right. I didn't know anybody in that room. So I didn't have that. So like, being able to to actually say something to that person, to Catherine's point earlier, to not freeze, right? Because that's what most often, especially women, will do, or anyone that is intimidated. Like you said, people coming that are going to intimidate us are usually bigger, they are stronger. Like there's a reason they're picking you, right? That's why women often get chosen, because we are smaller. We don't have as much muscle mass, and generally speaking. And we often don't have the training because, like you said, we get intimidated, right? Women don't like going to the freeway part of a gym because, they're intimidated. They, have a perspective that that's where all the muscle heads go, where the super fit people. And if you're not in that category in your mind, then you don't go. So we actually don't get a lot of this training and a lot of these mindsets to be able to do it. And I'm just going to share something you and I talked about, like like using someone else's physicality. So say for instance, you get pushed to the ground or whatever, and someone's pushing on your chest, right? Like I can't get somebody off of me, but like you're saying, if you could like go with their hands, like and push their hands to the side, well, now they can't use it anymore. And now you have an opportunity, to get at a dodge, right? So that those kinds of tactics and things I think are really, really important. Let me ask you this question. And I didn't sort of preempt you with this question before, so it's totally off the mark. How do you help people not freeze?
That's through rehearsal. That's, first of all, it's through awareness, then rehearsing a technique. So if we go back to, I don't want to harp so much on the physicality. Physical portion is tremendously important. Being able to do some really cool techniques. You can learn really cool techniques from a lot of martial arts instructors and academies. Not just the martial arts techniques. It's actually a very specific set of martial arts techniques, which handles with distance management. In addition to that, we have 3 communication drills we practice, and actually we've honed these down with all our. I have a kids academy. I used to train a lot of professional fighters, whether cage fighters, boxers. I've done a lot of things with special forces, a lot of SWAT. I've done a lot of with the Coast Guard. I've done some security work over in Africa. You're in Africa. I've done things overseas. So I've done it at a very, very high level. And the reason that's important is because now when I can take something so let's call it counter terror. If I do some counter terror techniques and I'm dealing with, could be dealing with, if I have a firearm and I transition to my pistol and I transition to hand to hand, if I do things at an extremely high level, which the consequences are death, then I can stair step it back and go, okay, I now have the understanding I can deal with something at this stress level. I can absolutely deal with something at a lower stress level. And that's part of doing the physicality. If I can deal with somebody's worst case scenario, and I can frame somebody out, I can redirect somebody, I can keep myself safe. And just like you said, somebody on top of you pressing on you, you're not gonna be able to press anybody off. I've got athletes now. I've got a couple guys, 200 plus pounds, and they I sit on them or whatever else. They can't press me off. They can't, and they're much bigger and much stronger than I am, but I just maneuver a certain way and they can't do anything about that. And you can learn some of those techniques in other martial arts programs. But that is only a portion of the black belt confidence course. That's only enough to enlighten you and going, oh, wow, I can protect myself. Now, to stair step that, we have a communications portion. One's called the presentation drill, where we're going to ask you and it's really nerve wracking because public speaking is it's crazy. We'll do it in a safe manner. Well, we'll do it with just a couple people, you and 2 other people, small groups, and we'll practice something super simple like presentation drill. You have 30 seconds. Let's talk about the subject of bubblegum, and you got to talk about bubblegum with no bullet points or anything. Just talk about bubblegum, or talk about your favorite day out, whatever it is. And we're going to talk to you about, well, what does your eye contact look like? What does your posture look like? Let's talk about what your eye contact says. What is the nonverbal cues? What are you telling somebody else? What are your shoulders doing? Do you look like you're an easy target, or you look like you're a hard target? So we'll relate it to the physicality. We have an introduction drill. Super.
Hang on a second. Before you go into introduction drill, let's talk about the presentation for just a second. Give me an example of like certain, like maybe an eye contact or a posture or something like that. Like one or two things that really indicate that you have confidence. Like where's like the end game that you take people to? You know, you look like you have confidence when what?
When all the nonverbal cues, your chin is up, your shoulders are back, you're
Okay.
smiling, you're making eye contact with somebody. I've seen so many, and it's men as well, but a lot of women, even when I approach them, I'm walking down the hall or down at the mall, they look down as to not make eye contact with me because they don't want to have an interaction with me. As opposed to, I've seen other people, men and women, with confidence, hey, how are you? And they move on, but they look like they are on a mission, and they look like they've got direction in their life. And it's almost like, oh, I don't need to stop. We had a lady talking about, speaking of public gyms, we had a lady who's trying to sell us insurance at the public gym, and she wanted to give me a free shirt, or insurance company. And instead of looking away and looking down and pretending like I'm ignoring her, I smiled at her. I said, oh, thank you very much. That's amazing. I love your shirt, blah, blah. And I kept moving on. And I think everybody can do that. Just keep moving like you have direction. I have somewhere to go. I can come back and meet you in a moment. That would be the presentation drill, just talking about those sort of cues, being able to project your voice. And it's really hard when you think you know you can do it, but have you done it in practice? Now, Miss Mountain, you've done it many times. You're an expert at it. That's a public speaker. Some of the things you do, you're probably doing without even thinking. You've probably forgotten half the techniques that have gotten you to be so good you do. So we're going to give you a platform, small group, give you a little platform so you can actually talk to other people and hone those skills.
Right.
You'll be a Miss Mountain expert after a weekend seminar. However, you'll at least have the tools. And if you want to pursue and hone that craft, you'll get better at it.
Right.
And that's
okay.
That's our presentation drill. You know, in the animal kingdom, what do the predators look for? We all know this.
Weakness.
Weakness. What does weakness look like? I talk to our 5 and 6 year old kids, and 5 and 6 year old kids know.
Yeah. Slow.
They're slow. They're slow.
That's all I know. Like run faster than that guy, and you live.
Yes. The other animals are running faster. So as a predator, I'm going after the slow one, or I'm going after the one that's outside the pack.
Cut from the herd. Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm going after the one that looks meek, sick, got his head down. The one that's not paying attention. How about that? Super important to have your eyes, and in the have your eyes. You'll hear people in the security industry, they'll talk about keep your head on a swivel. It's kind of an old cliche, but you're always looking. You're looking to see who's about. That's a Canadian expression. Who's about? look all around. That demonstrates confidence, and just by simple drills like the presentation drill, that hopefully will at least give you some awareness. Like, oh, I didn't realize when I spoke, I looked down. I didn't realize my shoulders are slumped over. And your colleagues in the class are going to help. Safe environment, they're going to help guide you. Oh, I didn't realize when I spoke, I had these non-fluencies. Non-fluencies are filler words. Filler words are not bad. However, if you're using filler words without realizing you're using filler words like then it's a problem. If you're doing them deliberately, again, back to comedians, the most expert communicators, in my opinion, they use filler words very, very deliberately. They use them for dramatic effect. They use them to gain your attention. They use them so you can process the information they just said. So filler words, non-fluencies are not bad. They're great if you know how to use them.
Okay. I mean, that's part of it. So what about your, sorry, thank you for going back on that, because I know that there's lots of my listeners who really want to get into being that confident looking presenter. And people do ask me like, how did you get good at presenting? And I'm like, well, 10 years of dragging my butt on stage. That'll do it every time. But, also learning some of the tactics you're talking about, like making that eye contact, the shoulders back and all that kind of a thing. So that's cool. So the other one you mentioned before I totally cut you off was the introductory drill, or the introduction drill.
So there's introduction drill and triangulation drill. The other three, they're just different methodologies, different ways of disguising that you're going to work on public speaking. The introduction drill, super simple. We're going to learn how to shake hands. What are you talking about? I'm going to learn how to, in our culture, in American culture, your thumb is up. Web of the thumb goes to the web of the thumb. Full facing, eye contact. You're smiling. You're learning how to ask a question off of your partner's answer. Now, you've got a lot of business professionals. That's going to be, yeah, I know that already. I know you know it. However, a good friend of ours, she's an executive with a big time company. And we just out for dinner, I talked about some of the things I'm developing with you with this black belt communication. And we talked about shaking hands. I said, would you mind shaking my hand? Super simple. And she immediately, she shook her hand, her palm was
down?
up, my palm was down. So she guided my hand downward. I said, that's interesting. I said, you got to be careful because in certain cultures, they do that as a power move. They do that to establish dominance. I'm above you. And then some other cultures, they go palm facing up. Some people do double hand, so there's a lot of messages in doing all that. The double hand technique may be a little bit too intimate when you first meet somebody, especially coming out of this COVID environment. That's a little bit somebody grabbing me and holding on to me. Hi, how are you? It's a little bit creepy. All we're going to do is take those very basic techniques and let's talk about them. You already know the answers. Let's just put them in the forefront. Let's talk about it and see what that message means and just create some awareness. Some physical self-defense techniques, or just the awareness if you're walking out to your car to the groceries to get from the grocery store, you know what to do. But what if we categorize them and say, these are absolute the most important things? Everybody knows to look when you walk to your car, just to look in the back seat, to look underneath, the cliche, the white van, don't park next to a white van, park under something lit. We're just going to bring them to the forefront. If you're walking out to your car in a public area and you don't feel comfortable, you don't need my permission, but you give yourself permission to say, you know what? I don't feel comfortable. I'm going to go back and get somebody to walk me out to my car.
Yeah. And like 10 times out of 10, someone's going to say, of course. Like there's no situation in which man or woman or anyone would say no to someone who asked for their help. It would be really, I love that about the introductory drill, because I've started many of my own businesses, but way back, in 2010, when I started my first business, I didn't know anybody. I had come out of my cult and, I didn't have a network and I was starting a new company, and I forced myself to go into like networking or conferences where I didn't know anybody. And I'm like, the number one thing I have to look like is not like I don't know anybody. Right. So I just walk up. I taught myself over time and just getting over my fear of doing this. You talked about the war of art. It can be scary. And now it doesn't faze me one little bit. I just walk up, hand extended. Hi, my name's Rebecca. How do you do? Right. And people are like, oh, I thought you knew everybody. I'm like, nope, don't know a single soul in this room. I'm just not acting like I don't know a single soul in this room, because I don't want to be sort of the weak one. They're like, oh, who's sad girl in the corner? Ain't no one going to grow a business by being the sad girl in the corner. You have to be able to go and make those introductions. So is the introductory thing kind of a combination of presentation? And it's almost like the starting of a presentation. Like a lot of people, when they get into a conversation, are cool, but getting into that conversation is almost like more than their little emotions can handle.
You know what happens when people walk into a room, generally speaking, like my shirt's not ironed, or I've got a little blemish on my skin, or whatever that is, or my hair, it's one of those hair days. Oh my gosh. You walk into a room, a lot of people walk into a room and they think about all those things. They're all looking at that thing I have on my face or my shirt, or if you change that mindset, and you think, you know what, I'm here for other people. I'm here to serve other people. I'm here to meet other people. How can I help them? I'm here to welcome them, make them feel comfortable. Stop being so, it's not narcissistic, but just stop being so self-centered and thinking it's all about you. Start thinking about other people. So, you know what, that person over there, they may feel some anxiety from meeting other people. I'm going to relieve them of that. I'm going to introduce myself to them. I'm going to say,
I love that. That's an amazing pivot, because you're right. It takes all the attention away from you and fretting about yourself, and moves it to a contribution giving kind of a mentality, which opens up so many parts of your brain anyway, right? When you go with giving and contribution in mind, your brain operates in a totally different way. I love that. I don't even use that next time I go in there, find almost like you walk in and find somebody. I'm like, I'm going to help that person.
Let's call it 30 seconds. The 30-second rule, your role is You're not going to be at the 8th grade dance, be a wallflower, and just wait for someone to ask you to dance, or a buddy goes, "You want to go get a drink?" No, you're going to 30 seconds. You're going to try and meet 3 people, and don't meet one person and sit there and be captivated. Like, I did the drill. And I'm going to talk to this person now. I know meet somebody. It's like, it's such a pleasure to meet you. I want to continue our conversation. I'm gonna come over here. I've got to meet blah blah, or my wife wants me to meet such and such, and then go and do that. I don't mean to skip around, but it reminded me of, we talked about men or women. Wife, when you talk about like cues, nonverbal cues, when you have a safe person. My wife, we have an understanding, and I think I grab her hand and I do a little elbow nudge, not to her, but I redirect. I know how to redirect people by grabbing their.
I'm sure you do. You probably redirect them, grabbing onto their pinky finger or something.
But very safely. But she knows when I do a certain, she knows my body language. We were coincidentally in Africa as well, South Africa. And we were on one side of the sidewalk. It was in, where were we? It was Cape Town. So, a lot of areas of Cape Town, super public, and I think it's safe, probably not. There's naivety kicking in, because, whatever. But we were slightly on a few back roads because we went to go, what is it called, paragliding in this. So we had to find our way up this mountain. I noticed 3 gentlemen walking towards us on the same side of the road. So immediately, sidewalk. So immediately I grabbed my wife and I just did a little nudge, and she knew exactly what to do. She knew exactly that she should follow my lead. She doesn't question me. She just goes, "Got it. You take the lead." It could be my wife who takes the lead, but you have to have that with your partner. This is where men and women can help each other. Just or your battle, but I call them battle buddy, whoever your partner in the bathroom. There's nonverbal cues, but you have to talk about it. And you feel almost silly saying, "I've got this plan," but you need a plan. You've got a plan. You got a safe person. So in doing that, I just nudge my wife a certain way, and we walk into a store or walk into more of a public area, and she doesn't ask any questions. And then those passerbyers went by. They probably meant no harm whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Again, my head is alert. I'm not just on my phone. My head's alert and go, And there's certain cues, which I'll talk about when we get into like a seminar format. Once I explain it, they're like, so simple. Oh my gosh, watch for the hands, watch for the hand gestures, watch for the body language. Super simple things once you're aware of them. But my wife would walk into a store with me, don't ask any questions, and she just patiently waited, and I realized they passed by. They were probably super safe. At that point, we continued on our walk, and I said, I was just a little bit alert. So she's not going to make fun of me because, oh my gosh, you're so paranoid. It's just something we do. We have an understanding with, and maybe it's just my anxiety because of what I do, but she knows if nothing else, she's going to appease my anxiety as my partner. So,
okay, that's awesome. So the last one you were talking about is the triangulation, and then I want to talk a little bit about something else. But yeah, so triangulation. Talk about that one. What's that mean?
It's also similar to the public speaking. They're all disguised. It's different. In our business, when I work with instructors, I go, your job is, because people get, in this day and age of social media, we have soundbite attention spans. So it's another way to disguise repetition. We're getting more repetition and being able to make eye contact, face forward. So the triangulation drill is basically that. There's 3 people. One person leads, 2 people take instruction, and that'll be through a physical means. I'll demonstrate. Super simple. Every martial arts. If you've done any martial arts, I think the palm heel. It's like a palm heel strike.
Okay. Sure. Don't know about it, but yeah. Well, talk to me like I am. Yeah, of course. Do it out every day.
Well, we'll show you the palm heel. So this is the palm heel strike. It's super safe. Some people think punching. You talk to any ER nurse or doctor, and they'll tell you they come in with boxer's fractures all the time because people are punching things, and they think, well, listen, if it comes down to it, there's a lot. This is scary to me, especially men and women, but especially men. They go, if it comes down to it, I will know what to do. I scratch my head. I go, well, when was the last time you were ever in a fight? When was the last time you had anybody just try to resist, like you wrestled around or you got in a stance? When was the last time you went to the gym? Let's talk about that. When was the last time you jogged around the block? When was the last time you did anything besides get on your computer, get on your phone, sit on the couch? When was the last time? Your body is this amazing machine that you have to keep oiled. And that is physical activity.
Right.
With this, if you punch somebody on the street, like I would punch somebody, well, you're going to break your hand. And then now your hand is inoperable. And if I'm in an assault situation, one hand. Now I have one hand to hold my VIP person. That could be your loved person or whatever. Anybody important to you. And I have one hand to hold them away, one hand to defend myself, one hand to open a door, one hand to carry something, maybe a child. So it's important you do techniques to keep yourself safe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't suggest anybody punch anybody on the street unless you're a trained fighter.
Right.
So I'll do, that's another, there's
Right.
another condition in your hands, but that's not for this subject
Right.
matter.
And I think also like where a lot of the martial arts training, particularly in regards to confidence, that it's like the whole idea is to never get into a physical altercation.
Yes.
Like that's the goal here, right?
That's it.
So I might sneeze. This is gonna be great.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
Bless you.
Always good to do that on camera. Okay, so here's another question I have for you.
I'll piggyback on that, but that's absolutely the goal. Never to be in an altercation. Just have the body language, have the body language like, you know what? I'm a hard target. I'm not someone to be effed with. Don't mess with that person.
Right.
I find somebody else, an easier target.
Yeah.
Because of the way you walk. Now, how do you gain that confidence? How do you gain that confidence? By doing what you do. You rehearse it. You have information which you know. When you're doing public speaking, a lot of people say you're doing a public speaking event for 20, 100, 500 people. You're doing an event like that and you see 3 or 4 people, they're just arms crossed and they're not looking at you and they're kind of, If you're not trained to, because everybody wants to look at that negativity, oh, what am I saying? And you start focusing on that person, you're going to derail your commentary. You're going to derail your topic. So focus on the people that are smiling. Focus on the people that are doing well.
Amen. Yep. That you're right. And again, that's a mindset thing, but that comes with confidence in knowing that not everyone's going to want your message, and that's fine. It's not for them. Let them waste their time in the room or whatever. That's not who you're talking to.
Yes, we're going to do the physical portion of this to get you. Let's call that the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is you get into a physical altercation. Our goal is to never get into physical altercation, but then we're going to reverse engineer that, step it backwards, and we're going to say listen, I have the permission to say somebody, this makes me uncomfortable. Can you back up a little bit? Right. I think people gotten comfortable with that with COVID. They're like 6 feet. I had a guy in the this was, I guess, at the end of COVID, and we were in line to get some snacks for our boys. And I think I was 3 feet to him, close to him, but 3 feet was too close during that time. And he had no problem looking at me going, 6 feet, buddy. I go, oh, got it. I respect you. Understand. And I backed up that one.
And I mean, most people, like if you ask, people are 3 times more likely to say yes to you and do what you want them to do than we think. But we just we don't ask, we don't do that. So here's a question for you. Then I want you to talk a little bit about the program and what you've got, because I think it's a really important class that you are offering. Why would someone need to build confidence using, some level of physicality, right? So martial arts in this case, versus me just going to a local, YMCA and sitting in a class and learning about confidence there. What's the difference between, like, why is it so important to include the physical aspect? I think I know the answer, but I really want to spell this out because there's lots of confidence courses you can take. There's online courses, go and sit in a class, but yours is much more effective because it includes physical in addition to all the mental stuff. Why?
Yeah, I think it's super important. The physical portion. You could do a YMCA martial arts class, and there's nothing wrong with YMCA martial arts classes. But most of these classes, again, I'm going to tell you, they're not geared specifically for what your goals are. If you come into a martial arts class and listen, I want to have more social. Understood. We can do that. We have group sessions where some people are there for social, some people are there for self-defense, some people are there for just the ancillary fitness components of it. So that's most martial arts classes, and it's not very specifically geared towards self-defense. Okay, now people are going to argue, well, wait a minute, I do Krav Maga. Okay, congratulations, you do Krav Maga. I was in Israel, and I trained I've been doing it now, not a long time, but like 18 years now, 19 years doing that, and I've got a high-ranking black belt in some Israeli martial arts, and there is a good portion of it which did not apply and actually was not effective at all. We were told it was effective, and I always question certain techniques. It doesn't matter what the art form was. There's certain things it just isn't effective. The effective techniques you can learn are very simple, and they're not sexy. They're not sexy.
They're just effective. Yeah. But what about, so I'm going to ask a question in a slightly different way. So I get the whole YMCA martial arts, but what if there's just like a YMCA or online confidence course, build confidence, like confidence 101. And I'm just sitting in my chair and I'm listening to someone talk to me about how to build confidence. What is it about using the physical part of your thing that makes it more effective? than just a
specific
class.
martial arts portion. Or so if you do an online course, I think if you're not going to do anything, do that. Do something like that. If you want to build confidence in a manner of being able to public speak, do a public speaking engagement course. I'm looking personally into improv classes, do acting classes, do things to make you super uncomfortable getting in groups and then having that lecture. I'm going to tell you and your audience, imagine walking. I asked this question to a lot of people. Imagine yourself walking into whatever room it is for the very first time. How does it make you feel? Are you ever in a situation where you feel a little bit uncomfortable? You know, it's going to sound a little bit silly, but if I can protect myself physically, and if I'm meeting with a high-level executive, an attorney, a doctor, whatever else, I'm going to have a level of confidence to ask this person and maybe even challenge this person if there's certain beliefs or certain things they're saying that I don't necessarily understand or I don't agree with. I have the confidence to be able to ask that question without it sounds so silly, like fear of somebody physically imposing on himself. I'm not physically imposed with somebody. That's just another layer. Take that layer out of there. I can make great eye contact and really get down to it. I may never use my physical skills, but if I
have them,
I reverse engineered again. I know I can handle myself physically. Now I can come over here and handle myself in just the everyday walk of life. I can everyday business dealings. Whatever else is.
Yeah. And then Catherine's got a point there too. You know, I think I remember better if I practice physically, and you're absolutely correct. I mean, I'm, totally into this. Okay. Last question. Yeah, exactly.
You told me about a book that I'm in now. You can read the book, you can listen to the book Audible, right? But you learn so much more. The statistics show it. You learn so much more if you do both.
Yes.
Maybe simultaneously.
I've heard that. Yeah. Listen to a book while you're reading the book at the same time.
Yeah.
So last question I have for you, and then I swear I'm going to let you talk about your program because I want to give it, but just really quickly, firearms, right? So weapons training, I know that's part of what you do.
Yeah.
So, I'm Canadian, right? We don't have a big gun culture here. So I know in the US you have like big gun culture, just generally speaking. I mean, I'm a Canadian, I speak in generalities about my American friends. So there's a more of a prevalence down there. Whereas up here in Canada, you can be like, nah, I don't really need it. Or if you think, well, I mean, the chances of me running into, a firearm situation are pretty slim to none. So I'm not going to worry about that. Do you include that as part of your program, firearms training? And why?
That's a great question. And this particular course that we're going to talk about, I am going to include it. Because I think it's
okay.
It's extremely important. And I want to include it for a couple different reasons. One, I want to give value. I want to say, listen, I'll give you value and show you firearm safety. The other reason I think it's absolutely important, if we said, listen, it's an added charge to do this firearms, some people may not do it just because I'm Canadian. I don't need to do it. What's the likelihood of me encountering a firearm? A personal story. I have one of my martial arts instructors in Arkansas. He came to me one day and he said, "Hey, Kuntz." I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, I want to talk to you about firearms training." I go, "Sir, I don't need any firearms training. I've been doing martial arts for decades now, and I trust my hands." And he attacked my ego. He said, "Oh, to be a complete martial artist, you need to know about guns." And I was like, oh, I want to be a complete martial artist. And then he posed this to me because I was running a lot of, I have a team now, but at the time I was running a lot of kids camps, personally running kids camps. And we were out of a big gymnastics facility and there were different people, all walks of life. We had people doing wrestling, we had attorneys, we had gymnastics, cheerleaders, lots of adults taking their kids to these programs, big restroom. And he said, one day, what if one of your kids brings you a firearm? What would you, or they say they saw a firearm, what would you do? I'm like, well, I went to college. You just kind of, well, I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I didn't know anything about, I didn't know the first thing about firearms. Now this is 25, 30 years ago. And coincidentally, I don't know how the stars aligned, but a couple weeks later, I had 2 7-year-olds come up to me and they said, Mr. Kuntz, that guy has a gun in the bathroom. I go, what? And I was like, whoa, what do I do? And I knew the guy they were talking about. He was an attorney, super nice guy. And I asked him, he denied it. And then later I come to find out, yes, he has a concealed permit. and he had a firearm. He was changing in the bathroom. He had his duffel bag open. There was a firearm laying there. He didn't conceal it well. The kids went in the bathroom. He didn't expect them to come in the bathroom. So they saw the firearm. So it got me thinking, what if one of those kids brought that gun to me? What would I do? And I didn't know. And that began my journey with firearms. And I've got a lot of stories about the firearms training. However, to give you an idea, it got so complex. I was training hundreds of hours every single year, doing very extensive courses in different parts of the country and overseas, and to reverse engineer it to the real extreme of firearms. We were doing things that you would imagine high level security, high level law enforcement, high level military be doing, from clearing rooms to doing 2-man teams, 3-man teams, 5-man teams, in and out of cars, off of boats, just all kinds of crazy things. I was doing some high level stuff, high level training. And then with that, I was able to start helping coach and instruct other agencies. So why is that important? It's just another extension of safety. If you've never had a firearm, you've never touched a firearm, or say you had a fire. I have people all the time like, oh, I shoot guns all the time. I go, well, great. When's the last time you shot? And they say, well, back in 19. I go, okay, back in the middle, 10 years ago. Okay, and then what did you shoot at? Well, I had a piece of paper. I go to if you've ever been to a gun range, it looks like a bowling alley.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. It looks like a bowling alley, and there's paper, and you squint one eye, and you take a breath, and you squeeze, and then you do it again, and you squeeze, and you go, woo, that was a run. That is not real applicable to a stress-induced environment.
No, not at all. That's definitely a free situation. So does your program teach like disarming, like what to do if someone comes at you, like not just with a gun, but with other weapons like knives, and that kind of a thing? And again, so the idea is go to the nth degree, reverse back. So no matter what, someone pulls it out, and that way it goes. Because I remember with my sister's Krav Maga, part of it was, disarming somebody with a gun. So it wasn't just using a gun. I went with her to practice. We just went, she's like, want to go to the gun range? I'm like, never been. Sure. But also like how she can disarm somebody who has a gun so that she gets herself out of that situation. And that's part of what you train. So again, in the horrible situation that you get, into something where someone has a weapon, again, you have the confidence so that you can walk literally anywhere. Because I know I go to the States, and as a Canadian, the whole thing is like every, Americans packing heat. I know there's people that they get totally freaked out. I went to Chicago, and we had some friends who are like, Rebecca, head in a swivel, be really careful, really dangerous. Everyone's got a gun, and I felt absolutely fine. But also because, hey, you and I have worked together. And so I just know, like, always be aware, phone's always away, never looking down, always look like, even if I don't know where I'm going, look like I know where I'm going. And like you said, you don't look like the weak person that's going to get caught up. But still, there's crazy people out there. I mean, it's downtown Chicago. Anybody. I mean, I had one guy, I was waiting for my car to come up, and he was in high-heeled shoes that were kind of undone, socks that came up halfway up his shins, shorts, a sweater, a jacket, and carrying a garbage bag. I mean, that's a whole lot going on, and you have no idea what might come out of the garbage bag or the bomber jacket. But if I have this kind of training, the point is, it wouldn't matter what came out of the bomber jacket, a knife, a gun, or nothing at all. I'm not scared of that situation, so the anxiety goes down. And someone who gets really into neuroscience, that helps me to always be thinking clearly, always be focusing. And, it's not like you're a spring and ready, right? But that you just feel that it doesn't really matter what happens. So, in the minutes as we get close to the top of the hour, talk to us about the black belt program that you're going to be offering.
So can I finish that last part? So I don't
sure.
Too quickly. My wife just came back from a conference a few months ago, and one of her colleagues, a man, he was I think it was in Chicago. He was outside his hotel room, and somebody approached him with a firearm, held up a gunpoint. So it's super scary. Now, does that happen often? Statistically, it's probably not going to happen, but it did happen. If somebody, so to give you an analogy, if somebody said, listen, I want to protect myself against somebody being able to punch me, I would say, terrific. Let me teach you how to punch. And they would say, no, listen, I don't want to learn how to punch anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to be able to protect myself and my loved ones. I said, well, before we do that, I need you to understand the mechanics of a punch. I need you to understand what's happening with that punch and how to throw a punch. And then you can deal with defending. I feel the same exact way with firearms. If you want to deal with a firearm, whether it's just safety with children or safety, if you want to get into firearms, if that's possible, and that's something you're want to include in your repertoire, you need to understand firearm safety first. So we're going to do things with the firearm safety. We're not going to practice shooting in a bowling alley, like not a bowling alley, you know, those bowling lanes. Close one eye. That's not realistic. You need to take a deep breath and wait 3 seconds and shoot. We're going to show you things on how to disarm a firearm. I mean, taking it apart, making it safe, take the ammo out, keeping the gun safe. We're going to show you things like if you get into, now this is high level training. So I want the high level training so you have the confidence, then you can do the low level training. We're going to teach you to do things like figuratively, hypothetically, you're in a gunfight. I'm not saying your listeners will be in a gunfight, but what happens if your gun becomes inoperable? I'm shooting and my gun is not operable.
Yeah.
That's called a jam. And there's several types of jams. People have fancy names with them, stovepipe, this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter the name, but your gun's not working. So we're going to show you under stress how to make that firearm operable. That's just a bonus part of the content, but the most important part of the firearms part of this is the safety component. Okay. So Black Belt Confidence course.
Go. When is it available? How does it work? I'm going to put the link in the chat so people can get it. And if you're listening to this live, it will be on the YouTube description. And if you're nowhere where you can click on anything, it's martialartsadvantage.com. The course is, if you put / or / Black Belt Confidence, so black - belt - confidence. But if you go to martialartsadvantage.com, you'll find it. Anthony, tell us about it.
Yeah, my marketing director's finishing that link now. That'll work if you give that full link. She's going to add it so you can go to the drop-down menu and find it somewhere. Okay. Understand that website is for our group training sessions as well. So there's a lot going on there. I'm excited about this. We've honed this, and we were going to do a three-month program. And it turns out, with coaching with you, you said, hey, listen, that doesn't sound like you're super enthused about it. And I said, well, I'm excited about the information, but I'm worried about people's time constraint. I'm worried about somebody doing a 3-month program and they miss out on certain curriculum because they've got a dinner date, they've got baseball, they get sick, something happens. And what happens if I can't make it to a certain session? I don't want anybody else teaching it. I want to personally, because I'm so passionate about this, I want to personally walk you through every step of the way. So we decided the best way to do this, and it's super exciting because we can make it for people that are out of town, make it a destination, have a vacay out of it. Right. Come to beautiful Tampa, Florida. Yeah. Maybe where you're at in Tampa may be a little bit warmer, I would imagine.
Right. But and you're doing that because it's on a weekend, right? So that's the most important thing. It's a Saturday and Sunday on a weekend in Tampa, Florida, right? Because like one of the things I said was like, I really want to go to do this, but I can't fly to Florida, once a week, but I can go down there. And for my Canadian friends, so I'm in outside Toronto. You can fly to Tampa, and especially in January, for like $300. Yeah. And it's not inexpensive. And that's Canadian dollars. So it's about like $5 US. But yeah, so it's on a weekend. Tell us when the weekend is, because you're offering this multiple times, but the one that you're offering coming up is January, right?
The end of January. I think it's on the flyer. I think it's the end of January. Let's see here.
27th, 28th.
27th, 28th. Yes. Give you that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to do it on a Saturday, 9 to 5. Provide you lunch. We're going to give you as much material as possible. I'm going to be accessible to everyone else who wants to participate. Sunday is going to be a shorter day. We're going to go 9 to 1. Now, you can leave at that point. So it could be a long weekend. Come on a Friday, leave Sunday, late Sunday. If you want to, maybe stay a little bit Sunday, maybe even stay Monday. I'm going to offer that bonus material with the firearms. Again, normally any sort of high level of firearms type training, it's expensive. It gets really expensive. I paid a lot of money for some of the courses I've gone through, but I'm going to give that as a bonus to anybody that signs up in the month of December. Just include it.
Right. So all we have to do is go to martialartsadvantage.com. And again, if you're here watching it and you can see the link, you can click on that. Yeah. You can go there, and in the drop-down menu, you'll find Black Belt Confidence to sign up for that. Anthony, how can people get in touch with you personally? Because sometimes people want to talk to you before they actually sign up for something. Yeah. What's your either an email address that they can reach you at?
So is it bad to give my cell phone?
Yep, don't do that.
Because I'm terrible at email. So go to anthonykuntz@gmail.com. Anthony, just like the traditional way, Anthony with a Y. And then Kuntz, My dad's white and German. My mom's Filipino. Kuntz, Kuntz, Anthony Kuntz at gmail.com. Send me an email. And
we'll do some more coaching on checking your email on a regular basis.
Terrible at that.
You're going to have to, because now this is out there and everyone's going to want to reach out to you. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that this is something I want to do. And one of the reasons I very selfishly suggest you do it at the end of January is so I can go.
Whoa.
Because this is something I want to do. So now, depending on when you're listening to this, Anthony will be offering these at multiple times throughout the year. So we're recording this in December of 2023. Doesn't matter when you're listening to this, he's probably offering another one. So go to that website, martialartsadvantage.com, or email him, because he will be checking his email, anthonykuntz@gmail.com, and find out how either you or one of your loved ones can develop a black belt level of confidence, so that no matter what room they walk into, they know that they can handle themselves, they can handle any situation. And as the work that I do as a high performance coach, it's all about taking control. What I can control, I feel confident about. And if you feel that you can't control an environment or your response to an environment, it's going to really change the way you walk through the world. And yes, Catherine, I agree. Anthony is likable, knowledgeable, and I'll just add in a wonderful guy. So there you go. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on board. I look forward to taking your class and finding out how many other people are going to achieve black belt confidence, so they can, again, walk through the world completely unafraid.
I'm excited to meet all of your audience, and
okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great night, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye, Anthony.